Hey, gather round. What I'm about to tell you, this ain't some fairy tale bullshit. This is about a man who had everything, and I mean everything until the universe decided to test just how much he was willing to bleed for love. So buckle up, because Ryuto Kageyama's story, it's gonna mess you up. Listen, Ryuto wasn't always the hollow-eyed bastard you'd find chain-smoking on Tokyo rooftops at 3 a.m. Nah, 3 years ago, dude was on top of the world. 28 years old, co-founder of a tech startup that was about to go nuclear, bank account looking real comfortable. And here's the kicker, he was engaged to the most intoxicating woman who ever walked this earth. Akira Minami. God, just saying her name still gives me chills. Akira was the kind of beautiful that didn't just turn heads and stop traffic, caused accidents, made grown men forget their own names. Long black hair that cascaded down her back like a waterfall of midnight. Eyes so dark you could drown in them, and lips, man, those lips could promise you heaven and deliver hell in the same breath. But here's the thing about Akira, she wasn't just some pretty face. Playing dress up in designer clothes, she was sharp, worked as a psychiatric nurse, specialized in trauma cases. She could read people like they were children's books, could see right through your bullshit before you even opened your mouth. And Ryuto, he was absolutely, catastrophically in love with her. They met at some pretentious art gallery opening that Ryuto's business partner dragged him to. Ryuto hated that bougie shit guys in blazers without socks, women sipping champagne while pretending to understand abstract paintings that looked like a toddler's temper tantrum. But then Akira walked up to him, pointed at this chaotic mess of red and black paint, and said, "Looked like someone murdered a sunset and tried to hide the evidence." Ryuto nearly choked on his drink. They talked for 4 hours straight. By the end of the night, he had her number. By the end of the month, he was completely gone for her. Head over heels, drowning in it, the whole 9 yards. Their relationship was electric. I'm talking chemistry so intense it could power a small city. The sex, Jesus, the sex was the kind that ruins you for anyone else. Rough, passionate, the kind where you recline at each other like you were trying to crawl inside each other's skin. Akira knew exactly what she wanted and took it without apology. And Ryuto? He'd give her anything, everything just to hear her whisper his name in the dark. But underneath all that heat, there was something real, something tender. Quiet Sunday mornings tangled in sheets, her head on his chest, talking about dreams and fears and futures. She traced the scar on his shoulder from a motorcycle accident when he was 20, and he de-kissed the small tattoo behind her ear, a tiny lotus flower she got after her grandmother died. "You're my person, Ryuto," she'd say, fingers interlaced with his. "My safe place in a world full of chaos." And he believed her. God help him. He believed every word. Now, here's where shit gets twisted. Because Akira had a past and that past had a name. Kato Murakami. Kato was Akira's ex from college. Your typical pretty boy type designer stubble, cocky smile, worked in finance, drove a car that cost more than most people's houses. They dated for 2 years before Akira finally wised up and dumped his ass after catching him in bed with her roommate. Classic move, right? Ryuto knew about Kato. Akira had been upfront about it. When they first got serious, he was a mistake, she'd said, voice flat, emotionless, an expensive lesson in not trusting sharks who smile pretty. Ryuto figured that was the end of it. Ancient history. But see, the universe has this sixth sense of humor, and Kato wasn't done with Akira. Not by a long shot. 6 months before the wedding, Kato rolled back into Tokyo like a bad penny. He'd made partner at his firm, was even richer than before, and apparently decided that Akira was the one that got away. Started showing up at her work, sending flowers to their apartment, texting her at all hours with those manipulative "I've changed, I've grown" messages that narcissists love to peddle. At first, Akira blocked him, changed her number, but Kato was persistent, time talking, restraining order level persistent. He knew where she worked, where she got coffee, where she went to yoga. Guy was practically stalking her, but doing it just subtle enough to skirt the legal line. "He's harmless," Akira would say, but Ryuto could see the tension in her shoulders, the way she checked her phone with dread instead of excitement. Just a pathetic man having a midlife crisis at 32. Ryuto wanted to beat Kato's ass into next Tuesday, but Akira made him promise to stay out of it. "Violence makes it worse," she said, cupping his face with both hands. "I've seen what happens when men try to solve problems with their fists. It escalates. Just trust me, baby. He'll get bored and disappear." So Ryuto backed off. Trusted her. That was his first mistake. The second mistake, that came 3 months before the wedding. Ryuto's startup was in the middle of crucial negotiations with investors. We're talking life-changing money, the kind that could set them up for generations. He was working insane hours, sometimes sleeping, at the office, running on coffee and ambition and maybe 4 hours of sleep a night. Akira understood. She'd always been supportive of his dreams, his drive. But loneliness is a sneaky bitch, and Kato was circling like a shark who'd smelled blood in the water. One night, God, I can barely say this without feeling sick, one night while Ryuto was pulling an all-nighter, Kato showed up at Akira's favorite wine bar. She was there with co-workers, unwinding after a brutal shift where one of her patients had attempted suicide. She was vulnerable, exhausted, her defenses down. Kato bought the table around, played it cool, charming, apologetic, told stories that made everyone laugh, acted like he'd evolved into some enlightened version of himself. And when Akira's co-workers left, he stayed. They talked, old memories, new perspectives. He apologized for who he'd been, said therapy had changed him, that losing her was the wake-up call he needed. Classic manipulation, textbook shit. But Akira, she was tired, so damn tired of being on guard all the time. One drink turned into three turned into stumbling into a cab together. And before Akira fully realized what was happening, they were in Kato's penthouse suite, and his mouth was on hers, and her hands were in his hair, and she slept with him. Let that sink in for a second. The woman Ryuto would have died for, the woman he'd built his entire future around, fucked her ex-boyfriend 3 months before their wedding. Akira woke up the next morning and immediately knew she detonated a bomb. In the middle of her life, the guilt hit her like a freight train. She threw up in Kato's bathroom, couldn't even look at herself in the mirror. Kato, ever the predator, tried to play it like they were reconnecting, like this was the start of something. She told him to go to hell and got the fuck out of there. For 2 weeks, Akira lived in agony. She couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't look Ryuto in the eye without feeling like she was going to shatter into a million pieces. She wanted to tell him God. She needed to tell him, but the words wouldn't come. How do you confess that you've destroyed the best thing in your life? How do you watch someone's world collapse because of your weakness? So she stayed silent, and every day that passed made the lie bigger, heavier, more impossible to escape. Ryuto noticed something was off. Of course he did. He knew Akira better than he knew himself. But when he asked, she'd blame it on work stress, wedding planning anxiety, anything but the truth. And because Ryuto trusted her completely, because he believed in the sanctity of what they had, he accepted those excuses. Meanwhile, Kato was loving every second of this shit. He had leverage now, a secret that could destroy Akira's relationship at his whim. He started texting her again, veiled threats disguised as friendly check-ins. Hope you're doing well. Haven't told anyone about our night together. Wouldn't want Ryuto to get hurt, right? Akira was trapped in a nightmare of her own making, and Kato, he was tightening the noose, waiting for the perfect moment to yank. That moment came 2 weeks before the wedding. Ryuto's business partner, Haruki, was throwing him a bachelor party. Nothing too crazy, just the core crew, some high-end sushi, expensive whiskey, poker, bullshitting about life. Solid dude time. Guess who showed up uninvited? Yeah, Kato fucking Murakami. Apparently, Kato had connections with one of the guys, there's some old college buddy, or whatever. He walked in all smiles and handshakes, acting like he belonged. Ryuto's blood pressure spiked the second he saw him, but he kept his cool, for Akira's sake. The night went on. Drinks flowed. Ryuto was actually having a good time, laughing with his boys, feeling like maybe life was finally clicking into place. Then Kato pulled him aside for a private conversation. They stepped out onto the balcony, Tokyo's neon lights sprawling beneath them like a circuit board. Kato lit a cigarette, offered one to Ryuto. Ryuto declined. Look, man, Kato started, all fake sincerity. I know there's been tension between us because of Akira. I just want you to know no hard feelings. She's with you now, and I respect that. I really do. Ryuto studied him, every instinct screaming that this was bullshit, but not knowing what the play was yet. Appreciate that, he said carefully. Kato took a long drag, exhaled smoke into the night. She's an incredible woman. I was a fool to let her go. Pause. But then again, we all make mistakes, right? Something in his tone made Ryuto's spine go rigid. What's that supposed to mean? Kato's smile was pure poison. Nothing, man. Just saying people fuck up. It's human nature. Another pause, deliberate, cruel. Sometimes people fuck up in ways they can't take back. Ryuto grabbed him by the collar, slammed him against the balcony railing. Say what you're trying to say or get the hell out of my face. And that's when Kato dropped the bomb. Akira and I slept together 3 months ago. Guess she forgot to mention it? Time stopped. The world tilted sideways. Ryuto's grip loosened, and Kato straightened his shirt, that smug smile never wavering. You're lying, Ryuto said, but his voice sounded hollow even to himself. Am I? Kato pulled out his phone, scrolled through messages. She begged me not to tell you, said it was a mistake, that she was drunk, that she still loves you. He laughed, sharp and bitter. But here's the thing about Akira, when she gets lonely, when she needs something you're not giving her, she knows where to find it. Ryuto wanted to kill him, wanted to throw him off that balcony and watch him become a stain on the pavement 40 stories below. But more than that, he needed to know if it was true. He left without another word, got in his car, drove to their apartment with his heart jackhammering against his ribs. Akira was in the kitchen when he walked in, wearing one of his old t-shirts, hair in a messy bun, looking so beautiful and so familiar that it physically hurt. She smiled when she saw him, that smile he'd wake up for, fight for, live for. Hey baby, you're home early. How was the party? Ryuto stood in the doorway, hands shaking. Did you sleep with Kato? The smile died. Color drained from her face, and in that silence, Ryuto got his answer. Akira didn't deny it. To her credit, she didn't even try. She just crumpled, like someone had cut the strings holding her upright, and started sobbing, these deep, gut-wrenching sobs that sounded like they were tearing her apart from the inside. I'm sorry, she gasped between breaths. God, Ryuto, I'm so sorry. I was drunk. I was stupid. It meant nothing. Nothing. Ryuto's voice came out strangled. Ra, you fucked another man and you're telling me it meant nothing. It didn't. It was a mistake. A horrible, unforgivable mistake. When? What? When? Akira, when did you make this mistake? She could barely get the words out. 3 months ago. 3 months? 90 days of looking him in the eye, kissing him, making love to him, planning a wedding with him, all while carrying this secret like a knife between his ribs. Ryuto felt something inside him break. Not cleanly, not mercifully, but the way glass shatters into a million tiny pieces that cut on the way down. Get out. Akira's eyes went wide. Ryuto, please, get the fuck out. His roar echoed through the apartment, primal and agonized. Get out before I do something we'll both regret. She left, grabbed her purse and left, still crying, still apologizing. And Ryuto stood there in the wreckage of his life, surrounded by wedding magazines and engagement photos, and tried to figure out how to breathe. The next 72 hours were a blur. Ryuto didn't sleep, didn't eat, just drank whiskey and stared at the ceiling and tried to process the betrayal. His phone blew up, Akira calling, texting, begging for a chance to explain, to make it right. Haruki came over, found Ryuto in the same clothes he'd been wearing for 2 days. Apartment looking like a crime scene of empty bottles and broken picture frames. Talk to me, brother, Haruki said, sitting beside him on the couch. And Ryuto told him everything. The affair, the lies, the wedding that was supposed to happen in 12 days. What are you gonna do? Haruki asked. Ryuto laughed, but there was no humor in it. I don't know, man. Part of me wants to forgive her, try to rebuild. But every time I close my eyes, I see them together, and I want to burn the whole world down. That's the anger talking. Give it time? How much time? How long until I can look at her without feeling like someone is driving nails through my chest? Haruki didn't have an answer. Nobody did. 5 days before the wedding, Akira showed up at the apartment. She looked like hell-eyed swollen, face gaunt, wearing sweatpants and a hoodie that swallowed her whole. But even destroyed, even broken, she was still the most beautiful thing Ryuto had ever seen. And he hated himself for still feeling that way. I'm not asking for forgiveness, she said, voice hoarse. I know I don't deserve it, but I need you to understand I love you, Ryuto, more than I've ever loved anything in my life. What happened with Kato? It was weakness. It was selfishness. It was me being so terrified of losing you to your work that I sabotaged us in the worst possible way. That's not an excuse. I know, there is no excuse, but it's the truth. She stepped closer, tears streaming. I've spent every second since that night hating myself, wishing I could take it back, knowing I can't. And the worst part, the thing that kills me, I hurt the only person who ever made me feel safe, who ever made me feel whole. Ryuto wanted to stay angry, wanted to hold onto that rage like armor. But looking at her, seeing the genuine anguish in her eyes, he felt it cracking. Why didn't you tell me? His voice broke. Why did I have to hear it from him? Because I'm a coward. Because I was terrified at this exact moment watching you look at me like I'm a stranger, like I'm something contaminated. She wiped her eyes roughly. But you deserve better than lies, Ryuto. You deserve better than me. Don't do that. Don't make this about self-pity. I'm not. I'm trying to give you an out. Because if you want to walk away, I'll understand. I hate it. I'll probably never recover from it, but I'll understand. Silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. Do you still have feelings for him? Ryuto finally asked. No. God, no. Kato is a parasite. Being with him made me realize how lucky I was to have you and how catastrophically I fucked it up. Then why? Because you were gone. Not physically, but emotionally. You were so focused on the company, on making this deal happen, and I felt invisible. And when Kato showed up, paying attention to me, making me feel seen, she shook her head. It's not an excuse. It's not even a reason. It's just what happened. Ryuto sat with that, turned it over in his mind. So this is my fault. What? No. Because that's what it sounds like. I work too much. So you fucked your ex. That's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying, Akira? She collapsed onto the couch, head in her hands. I don't know. I don't know how to make this right. I don't know how to unbreak us. And there it was. The truth they both knew, but hadn't said out loud. They were broken. Fundamentally, irreparably broken. But here's the thing about Ryuto Kageyama, he was a problem solver. His whole life was about finding solutions to impossible situations. And sitting there in that apartment, looking at the woman he loved more than breathing, he made a decision. He was going to forgive her, not because she deserved it, not because it was easy, but because the alternative of life without Akira felt like death. And maybe, just maybe, they could rebuild something from the ashes, something stronger. Okay? He said quietly. Akira looked up, eyes red-rimmed and hopeful. Okay? We go to therapy. We work through this. And you never, ever lie to me again about anything, even if the truth hurts like hell. She nodded so hard she looked like a bobblehead. Yes, God, yes, whatever it takes. They postponed the wedding, told everyone it was cold feet and needing more time. Started seeing a couples therapist 3 times a week. It was brutal, ripping open wounds, examining every ugly truth about their relationship, learning how to trust again from ground zero. Some days were good. They laugh about something stupid, hold hands during a movie, feel like maybe they could survive this. Other days, Ryuto would see a text notification on Akira's phone and feel his stomach drop. Or Akira would catch him staring into space and know he was picturing her with Kato. But they kept trying, kept fighting for it. 6 months later, they rescheduled the wedding. Smaller, more intimate, just close family and friends. Akira wore a simple white dress, and Ryuto wore a charcoal suit. And when they stood at that altar, they meant every word of those vows. I promise to choose you every day, Akira said, voice shaking, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I promise to never let you feel invisible, Ryuto responded, to make you my priority, not my afterthought. They kissed, and their guests cheered, and for a moment, just a beautiful, fleeting moment, everything felt perfect. The first year of marriage was actually good, great, even. They were happy, genuinely, tangibly happy. Ryuto's company went public, made him obscenely wealthy. Akira got promoted to head of her department. They bought a house, adopted a dog, talked about kids. The betrayal was still there, obviously a scar they both carried, but it had faded from an open wound to something they could live with. They'd survived the worst thing that could happen to a relationship and come out intact, or so they thought. Year 2 was when the cracks started showing again. It started small, Ryuto working late more often, Akira getting defensive when he asked about her day, little resentments creeping back in like weeds through concrete. Then Ryuto found out about the messages, not from Kato. That bastard had finally gotten the hint and disappeared. No, these messages were from a doctor at Akira's hospital, Takeshi. Young, brilliant, apparently very interested in Ryuto's wife. The texts were flirty, not explicit, but definitely crossing lines. Inside jokes, late-night conversations, the kind of emotional intimacy that should have been reserved for her husband. When Ryuto confronted her, Akira's defense was immediate and sharp. It's not like that. He's just a friend. Does he know you're married? Of course he does. Then why is he texting you at midnight asking if you're feeling lonely? Jesus Christ, Ryuto, are you seriously doing this? After everything we've been through? You don't trust me? Give me a reason to. The fight escalated, screaming, crying, breaking shit, and somewhere in the chaos, Ryuto said the thing that couldn't be unsaid. Maybe forgiving you was the biggest mistake of my life. Akira went silent, pale. Then she grabbed her keys and left. She didn't come home that night. Ryuto spent the next 24 hours losing his mind. Called her 50 times straight to voicemail. Called her sister, her friends, hospitals. Nothing. She finally walked in at noon the next day, looking exhausted. I stayed at a hotel. With him? No. Or why you to dot alone? Because I needed space from you accusing me of cheating every time I talked to another human being. That's not fair, isn't it? You said forgiving me was a mistake. Do you have any idea what that does to me? I've spent 2 years trying to prove I'm worthy of your trust, and one fight sends us right back to square one. Ryuto felt the fight drain out of him. She was right. He'd been holding the affair over her head like a sword, using it as ammunition every time they disagreed. I'm sorry, he said quietly. That was cruel. Yeah, it was. They stood there in their beautiful house with their expensive furniture and their broken hearts. And Ryuto realized something horrifying. Forgiveness doesn't erase hurt. It just buries it. And eventually, buried things claw their way back to the surface. They tried therapy again. Tried date nights, vacations, grand gestures. But the trust was gone. Completely evaporated. Every late night at work was suspicious. Every friendly interaction was a potential threat. They built their reconciliation on a foundation of sand. And now the tide was coming in. The final straw came on their 3rd anniversary. Ryuto had planned this elaborate dinner private chef. The whole rooftop of their favorite restaurant rented out. Flowers everywhere. He'd even commissioned a piece of jewelry, a necklace with both their birthstones intertwined. A symbol of how their lives had become inseparable. Akira was late. 2 hours late. When she finally showed up, she was flustered, apologetic, but Ryuto could smell cologne on her. Men's cologne. Not his. Who were you with? His voice was ice. Co-workers. We had a thing. Don't lie to me. Akira's expression hardened. I'm not lying. We had a department celebration. It ran long. You smell like someone else. It was crowded. People were hugging goodbye. Jesus, Ryuto, this is insane. Maybe it was insane. Maybe she was telling the truth. But in that moment, looking at her defensive posture and guilty eyes, Ryuto saw it clearly. They were done. Had been done for a while, probably. They were just too stubborn or too scared to admit it. I want a divorce. The words hung in the air like poison. Akira's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't argue. Didn't fight. Just nodded slowly, like she'd been expecting this. Okay, she whispered. And just like that, it was over. The divorce was messy. Lawyers, asset division, arguments about who got the dog. All the ugliness that comes when love curdles into resentment. Ryuto threw himself into work, became even more successful, more wealthy, more empty. He dated occasionally beautiful women who wanted nothing serious, but none of them made him feel anything real. Akira moved to Osaka, took a position at a different hospital. Ryuto heard through mutual friends that she was seeing someone, that she seemed happy. Good for her, he thought bitterly. 2 years after the divorce, Ryuto was at a business conference in Kyoto when he ran into Kato. The bastard was there with his new wife, some model half his age, looking smug and prosperous. When their eyes met across the hotel lobby, Kato had the audacity to smile and walk over. Ryuto Kageyama. Been a while. Ryuto considered walking away. Considered punching him. Didn't either. Kato? Heard about you and Akira. Shame. You two seem solid. The casual cruelty of it made Ryuto's blood boil, but he kept his voice level. We were. Until you torpedoed it. Kato laughed. Actually fucking laughed. Come on, man. I didn't torpedo anything. Akira made her choice. I just gave her the option. You manipulated her when she was vulnerable. I gave her what she needed. What you weren't giving her. He leaned in, voice dropping, and between you and me, she came back for seconds and thirds, even after you'd reconciled. The world went silent. Red edges crept into Ryuto's vision. You're lying, am I? That same smug smile from years ago. Ask her yourself, or don't. Doesn't matter to me. I got what I wanted to prove that perfect little Akira wasn't so perfect after all. And that you, my friend, were too blind to see it. Ryuto grabbed him by the throat, slammed him against the wall. Hotel staff rushed over, pulled them apart. Kato was escorted out, still smiling, and Ryuto was asked to leave. He sat in his car in the parking garage for 3 hours, hands shaking, trying to process what he'd just heard. Was it true? Had Akira continued seeing Kato even after they'd reconciled? Or was this just Kato's final act of cruelty, one last knife twist? Ryuto pulled out his phone, stared at Akira's number. They hadn't spoken in 18 months, but he needed to know. He dialed. She answered on the third ring. Ryuto? Her voice, God, her voice still did things to him, made his chest ache in ways he thought he'd gotten over. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Silence. Then, okay. After we got back together, did you see Kato again? The pause was too long. Wait along, Akira. Twice, she finally whispered. I saw him twice. Once right after we postponed the wedding, and once 6 months into our marriage. The car spun. Ryuto gripped the steering wheel to keep from falling apart. Did you sleep with him? No, we just talked. He wanted to apologize, wanted closure. And you believed him? I was confused. I was drowning in guilt. You were so angry all the time, and I didn't know how to. She broke off, crying. I'm sorry. God, Ryuto, I'm so sorry. I should have told you. Yeah, you should have. He hung up. That night, Ryuto stood on his balcony, looking out at the city lights, and had an epiphany. He'd spent 5 years trying to hold onto something that was already dead. He'd sacrificed his peace, his sanity, his ability to trust, all in the name of love. But what had it gotten him? A failed marriage, a scarred heart, and the knowledge that the woman he'd given everything to had never truly been all in. The ultimate choice Kato had mentioned all those years ago. It wasn't about sacrificing his love or losing himself. He'd already lost both. He'd sacrificed his love by clinging to someone who kept choosing others over him, and he'd lost himself in the process, became someone bitter, paranoid, broken. 6 months later, Ryuto met someone new. Her name was Yuki, a painter, completely outside his usual world. She was kind, straightforward, had her own scars and her own story. They took it slow, built something real from the ground up. 1 year after that, he got a message from an unknown number. When he opened it, his stomach dropped. It was from Akira. I know I have no right to reach out. I know I burned every bridge between us. But I need you to know something. I never stopped loving you, even when I was hurting you, even when I was lying, even when I was destroying us. You were the only person who ever made me feel like I deserved to be loved. Losing you was my punishment, and I've accepted that. But I had to tell you, you were my person. Ryuto, you'll always be my person. I just wish I'd been worthy of being yours. Ryuto read it 3 times. Then he showed it to Yuki. What are you going to say back? She asked, no judgment in her voice. Ryuto thought about it, thought about all the pain, all the betrayal, all the years he'd wasted trying to fix something that was broken from the start. Nothing. He finally said, I'm not going to say anything. He deleted the message, blocked the number, and turned to Yuki, this woman who showed up when she said she would, who told the truth even when it was hard, who chose him every single day without hesitation. Let's go get dinner, he said, taking her hand. And as they walked out into the Tokyo night, Ryuto realized something profound. The ultimate choice wasn't between sacrifice and self-destruct. It was between holding on to the past and embracing the future. He'd spent so long asking himself if he could forgive Akira, if he could rebuild what they had, if love was worth the pain. But he'd been asking the wrong questions all along. The real question was simpler. Did he love himself enough to walk away from someone who kept proving they couldn't love him the way he deserved? And finally, the answer was yes. The end.